January 2026. A massive data center in Northern Virginia quietly throttles its processing power by 40%. Not because the code failed, not because they ran out of chips, but because the local utility company just called and said, if you don't power down, the neighborhood goes dark. For the last 2 years, everyone has been obsessed with the shortage of silicon. We tracked every GPU shipment like it was gold bullion. But while we were all staring at the chips, we missed the wall we were speeding toward. This isn't just a problem for Google or Microsoft. Watch your utility bill next month. As Charlie Munger would say, invert, always invert. Look at what stops the system. To understand how a system grows, you don't look at its ambition, you look at its constraints. The constraint is no longer the brain, it is the food. By 2026, AI isn't limited by model intelligence. It is limited by physics, how many gigawatts we can push through copper wires. We are moving from a crisis of complexity to a crisis of simple physics. We are building a digital Ferrari engine, but we are mounting it on a wooden chassis. The grid cannot handle the torque. This isn't a tech prediction. It is a supply and demand calculation. Compute demand is exponential. It doubles every few months. Electricity supply is linear. It grows at a snail's pace 1 to 2% a year. When an exponential curve hits a flat line, things break. Usually what breaks is the bank account of the investor watching the wrong line. To avoid stupidity, look at the constraints. We must distinguish between capacity and energy. Think of capacity like the width of a pipe. It is the max flow at any single second. Think of energy like the total water volume over time. The market is obsessed with the energy, but the engineers are staring at the pipe right now. The AI industry is trying to push the Atlantic Ocean through a garden hose. The investment focus shifted violently. For a decade, the race was silicon, faster, smaller, smarter chips. Now, the bottleneck moved. It isn't the chips, it is the electrons needed to wake them up. Data center power demand will triple by 2028. That means adding the energy consumption of Sweden or Portugal to the grid every single year. And we aren't spreading this demand out. We are concentrating it in tech hubs that are already breaking. But physical reality doesn't care about software updates. You cannot download a new power plant. You cannot patch a high voltage line over Wi-Fi. This isn't a hype bubble. It is a massive industrial boom. It requires a physical build-out we haven't seen in generations. But physical supply chains are glacial compared to code. The bottlenecks are already here. Gas turbines, essential for reliable 24/7 power, are sold out through 2030. This is the Ferrari on a dirt road problem. We spent trillions on the fastest AI vehicles imaginable. But the road beneath them, the grid is rotting. We are dropping Formula One engines onto infrastructure built for 1950s sedans. In many places, the wait time to connect a new commercial project to the grid is now 5 to 7 years. Look at the incentives. If you are a tech CEO, you buy chips now to stay in the race. You have billions in hardware arriving next month. But if the utility says your plug won't be ready until 2031, you don't have a delay. You have a financial disaster. You spent the money. You cannot generate revenue. Your shiny hardware becomes an expensive paperweight. It sits in a warehouse, burning cash, producing zero value. This disconnect creates a value gap. The market prices in infinite tech growth. It assumes the line goes up forever, but it ignores the physical ceiling that stops growth cold. Physics always wins. We face real consequences, blackouts, strained resources, and rate hikes. We must look at the unsexy industrial reality holding up the digital cloud. The cloud is not vapor. The cloud is a concrete building full of hot computers. It demands massive air conditioning and a direct line to a power station. So why not just build more power plants? It seems obvious, demand is high, cash is available, supply should rise. But this is where the sold-out crisis gets real. Invert the problem. We are not limited by money. We are limited by physics and time. To build a plant, you need massive hardware, gas turbines, and high-voltage transformers. You don't buy these at Home Depot. They are house-sized machines. They take years to make. They need specialized labor, rare earth materials, and precision engineering. You cannot spin up a new factory overnight. The factories that build the machines are themselves massive infrastructure projects. Right now, major gas turbine manufacturers are sold out through 2030. Think about that timeline. If you plan a data center for 2028, you are already too late. The order book is closed. If you order a large-scale transformer today, the node that steps down voltage, you might get it in 4 years. That is a lifetime in tech. The electron supply chain is stiff. It does not bend, it breaks. In software, if demand spikes, you spin up virtual instances. It is elastic. In the grid, if demand spikes, wires melt. Systems shut down. We are seeing a rush for physical assets rivaling the gold rush. But companies aren't fighting for pickaxes. They are fighting for copper and turbines. The constraint shifted from silicon to electrons. This creates a new incentive structure. If you cannot build new power fast enough, the value of existing power skyrockets. Access to a reliable gigawatt is now more valuable than the data center itself. The building is a shell. The servers are depreciating silicon. The electricity is the scarce asset. It is the ultimate seller's market for utilities and heavy industry. These boring entities possess the only leverage that matters. They control the bottleneck. The companies making the boring stuff, cables, generators, cooling systems sit on the only inventory that matters. Everyone looks at software margins, but hardware producers hold the keys to the kingdom. This isn't a speculative bubble, it is a construction boom, but you cannot code it into existence. To run AI, you pay the toll to the people controlling the physics. Wall Street ignores this supply chain lag. Financial models prefer linear curves. They cannot account for a 4-year lead time on a transformer. But reality is stubborn. The grid doesn't care about stock valuations. It moves at the speed of manufacturing. And right now, if you haven't secured hardware, that speed is 0. What happens when unlimited AI capital hits physical grid scarcity? We get a chemical reaction that changes the economy. The focus moves from chips to electrons. This forces the first consequence, the pivot. Tech giants Microsoft, Amazon, Google are no longer just software companies. They are evolving into energy companies. Look at their balance sheets. They are buying nuclear plants for 24/7's power. They are funding fusion research. They are buying land just for transmission rights. Why? Because the timeline doesn't work. Critical hardware is sold out through 2030. Their destiny is no longer in their code. It is in securing the oxygen for that code, electricity. Without power, a $1 trillion data center is just a warehouse full of cold, expensive sand. Then comes the second consequence. The one that hits you, the hidden tax. This affects your wallet directly. As power demand spikes, electricity prices rise. In utility economics, when the grid is strained, the most expensive energy source sets the market price. Your utility bill is about to become an involuntary subsidy for the AI revolution. It is a hidden tax levied by supply and demand. When the grid strains, rates go up for everyone. We are moving toward a future where residential power becomes volatile so enterprise compute can remain stable. Think about reliability. If your lights flicker, it is an annoyance. If a data center loses power during a training run, it is a multi-million-dollar catastrophe. The system prioritizes the load that cannot fail. This is the disconnect. We want AI magic, but we deny the blackouts and bill hikes. Look at the incentives. Utilities have hyperscalers customers with deep pockets signing 20-year contracts. Then they have you. The incentive is to serve the guaranteed revenue. That isn't you, it is the tech giants. This shift transfers wealth from the consumer to infrastructure owners quietly, invisibly, every time you flip a switch. So how do we apply the Munger lens? We invert. We don't ask which AI stock will go up. We ask what critical factor, if missing, stops the industry cold? The answer is energy infrastructure. Smart money shifted from silicon to electrons. They are looking at grid modernizers, copper miners, nuclear operators, and turbine manufacturers. This is a classic picks and shovels play. But with a twist, it is not just selling tools, it is owning the bottleneck. If you are investing, stop looking at the Ferrari. Look at the dirt road. The fastest car is useless if the pavement crumbles. The companies fixing that road have the pricing power for the next decade. Physical constraints are harder to solve than software bugs. Demand triples. The grid lags. Avoid the stupidity of assuming trees grow to the sky without sunlight. Here, the sunlight is electricity, and right now it is cloudy. The rule is simple: technology is deflationary, but the energy to power it is inflationary. Position yourself accordingly. Don't get caught holding the bag when the lights flicker. Look for the boring, heavy, industrial assets that make the digital world possible. That is where the value lives. If you want to know the specific companies building this grid, I broke down the sector in my newsletter. Link below. Don't invest in the hype. Invest in the physics.